Hello students, today we are going to start new part of poetry from Poet's Pen. There are 5 points in your syllabus. As you know that we have completed the Indian part of your poetry. Now we will start the 5 poems one by one. First of all, we read about The Dead, which is written by Rupert Brooke. And the second is Anthem for Doomed Youth, and which is written by Wilfred Owen. And then The West Wind, which is written by John Masefield. And The Second Coming, which is written by W.B. Yeats. And Journey of the Magi, which is written by the most important poet of the 20th century, T.S. Eliot. So let's start one by one to them. First of all, we are going to read about The Dead. This is a poem written by Rupert Brooke. Rupert Brooke was an Elizabethan poet. After Elizabeth period, it is called the modern period. He was born in 1887 and died in 1915. Rupert Brooke, who wrote many poems, was educated at Rugby and King's College, Cambridge. Cambridge is a well-known university, and there is another university in England is Oxford. There are two universities which are famous for the education in England. He became the representative of the gifted and the golden youth who died in course of war. This is a poem about the person who gave their life in the war and who are patriotic persons. As we see the poem, the theme of the death in the concrete stage and the First World War. That period of time, as all in between wars, changes the mind and the points of view about the end of the life and turns death into the glory for fighting, defending ideals. In this poem, Rupert Brooke is confessed patriotic and does not fear death. Rupert Brooke said that he is a patriotic person, he does not fear about death. As Robert Browning said in his poem Prospice, I was ever a fighter, so one fight more, the last and the best. Robert Browning also said that why does he fear of death? And in this poem, Rupert Brooke is confessed patriotic and does not fear death. Moreover, he explained that what his contemporaries who survive him thought about the dying fighting and why they are markedly antinomatrist. So, Rupert Brooke want to say that why does a person need to fear about death if he is a patriotic person? Because a patriotic person never dies. He is always alive in the memory of the person of that country. A person who gives his life for the sake of his country, for the sake of freedom of his country, he became always alive. As we know in Indian history, Bhagat Singh, Subhash Chandra Bose, Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, all these figures are patriotic personality and they are alive in our memories till today and will be in the future also. This poem shows about the dead. The poem has 14 lines in it. As we know that a sonnet has 14 lines, but there is no division of the poem into stanzas. As we know, the Shakespearean sonnet is divided into 4 parts, 3 stanzas of 4 lines and a concluding couplet. And the Miltonic sonnet is divided into 2 parts, which has octave part and the sestet part. Octave part contains 8 lines in it, and the sestet part contains 6 lines in it. Octave part presents a problem, and the solution is presented in last 6 lines. But in Shakespearean sonnet, there are 3 stanzas of 4 lines and a concluding couplet. There is the solution in the couplet, we can see that. And the division is in the idea. There is no division in this poem. Rupert Brooke has present no division in this poem. He present division in the idea. The first 8 lines describe the life of people who are now dead. The person who have dead now, poet want to present the life of the people. And the remaining 6 lines describe the beauty of nature. This is the complete structure of the poem. So we can say that this poem is not divided physically into the stanzas, but it is divided into the stanzas of 8 and 6 lines according to their idea. There is an octave and there is a sestet in this poem. Now, look at the text of this poem. There are two parts of this poem, as you know. That first is referred to the person, referred to the dead persons. These hearts were woven of human joys and cares, vases marvelously with sorrow, swift to mirth. The years had given them kindness. Dawn was there, and sunset, and the colors of the earth. As we see, there is a rhyme scheme also. It is A B A B. What want to say? These hearts were woven of human joys and care, that we live here in the world and we make happy and joys and care to each other. And vases marvelously with the sorrow. We live a life with marvelously thoughts, and we share the sorrows and the happiness of each other. And swift to mirth, the years has given them kindness, and we exchange of the kindness. And dawn was there, and sunset, and the colors of the earth. There are dawn and there are the darkness. There is ups and downs in our life. There is everything in this life. This is about the sadness of those people whose relative is dead in the battlefield. These had seen moment and heart music known, and slumber and waking loud gone proudly friended, felt the quick stir and wonder sat alone, and touch flower and flowers and chicks, all this is ended. Poet want to glorify in the four line to the patriotic persons who gave their life for the country, and poet said that they have touches the flower and flowers and chicks, all this is ended, all are end at last. There is nothing mortal, nothing immortal. In the last six lines, poet describe about the nature. There are waters blow by chanting words, winds of laughter, wind to laughter. There are waters blow by changing winds to laughter, and lit by the rich sky all day, and after frost with gesture stay the waves that dance. It is showing the beauty of the fountains and the sea and the waves of the sea, and the wandering loveliness. He lives a white, unbroken glory. And the person who was a patriotic person, the waves, a dance, and wandering loveliness. His loveliness is remain in the earth after the death of his, and he lives a white, unbroken glory, a gathered residence, and he has a white glory behind the face of his, or the skull of his, and a gathered residence, a widened, shining peace under the night, and now they are sleeping under in the graveyard very peacefully and very glorifying. These lines show the sacrifice of a person who loves his country too much, who is called patriotic person. So we can say that Rupert Brooke presents here the two type of ideas. In first type of ideas, he said that the person who gave their life for the country are the patriotic person, and now they are dead. They are in their graveyard. And in the second part of this poem, he described about the beauty of nature, that they have dead, but the beauty of nature is going and going on. It is not a stop to any stoppage. It is said that there is always a way to live a life for the person who love them, who gave their life to the country. Means the relative of the soldier, the relative of the patriotic person should not become nervous, should not become passive, should not become on a melancholy mood, because there is always a way after the death. A person who died in a battlefield, his life, he became immortal, but the life of his parents and the life of his children, life of his wife became hell. And the poet want to console to those people and said that there is the beauty in the nature after the death of a lovely person or a lovable person of their family, and he gave them an optimistic idea in this poem. This poem is just like a sonnet which contains an idea, and as sonnet divided into two parts as structure, but this poem is not divided according to structure, but it is divided according to the idea. The poem. There is a beauty of flowing water, the forest which is cold is also beautiful. This poem casts a white light on the scene and the word appears beautiful. This shows the last six lines of the poem. And the two parts of the poem provide a contrast between the warm human joy and cares and the cold white beauty of the frosty world. These are the two ideas which are expressed in this poem. Technique. There is a rhyme scheme in the poem. It is A B A B, C D C D, E E, F G F G. It is similar such thing different from the Shakespearean and Miltonic sonnet. In Miltonic sonnet, we find the rhyme scheme as A B B A, A B B A, C D C C D C, or C D E C D E. And in Shakespearean sonnet, we find the rhyme scheme A B A B, C D C D, E F E F G G. But this is slightly different rhyme scheme A B A B, C D C D. Means the octave is similar to the Shakespearean part, but the sestes is slightly different. E E F G F G means the couplet comes before the last stanza of our line. So this is slightly different from the Shakespearean sonnet, and the language is very easy and lucid of this poem. So this is the poem, and now look at the second poem of your syllabus from Poet's Pen. There are 5 poems in it, and this is the second poem, Anthem for Doomed Youth, Wilfred Owen. Wilfred Owen was born in 1893 and died in 1918. As we have read about Rupert Brooke, and the similar, they are the contemporary poets of the same age. And Wilfred Owen lived a very short life of 25 or 26 years. Anthem for the Doomsday. As we know about it, we will read about it after some time. The poet, first of all, I want to give you the introduction of the poet. The poet, Owen, he was a teacher by profession and served in the World War I. Many of his poems was written during the war. He composed the prose, he composed the verse during the World War on a leisure time. And he described the scene of battle with the ruthless honesty. He described in his poetry very honesty about the reality of the battlefield and the destruction of the battlefield. The poet Owen mourns the fact that young man dies as cattle on the battlefield. There is a dangerous scene in a battlefield because the foes or the enemies of a country kill the person just like an animal. And the enemy of the country also kill the other man of country, means the both are killed to each other just like the animals, and they die as animal in the battlefield. It is not possible to give them the traditional funeral rites because they are on the part of their enemy. They are on other country, so we cannot give them proper funeral rites. And it is a very amiss with this world that there are violence and violence everywhere. There are many people are became dead on securing to the LOC, line of control. And only the sound of guns are heard and not funeral bells. Only the sound of girl are heard, means there is only of the sound in the valleys or in the distance area of a country, and at the edge of the LOC, the line of control, we can say that we can hear only one sound, and which is about the guns and rifles and bomb and other instruments and other weapons of destruction. This shows the battlefield's scenery. Now look at the text of the poem. What passing bell for these who die as cattle? What passing bell for these? There is a tradition in Christian society that after the death of a person, in the church there is a bell is rang in the church yard. Similarly, in Indian mythology or Indian society, we can see that there is a drum was beaten after the death of a person. Similarly, in the Christian society or in the foreign society, in the European society, we can see that after the death, there is a bell was rang in the memory of the dead person. What passing bells for these who die as cattle? But the persons are died as a cattle in the battlefield. Who will ring a bell for them? Because there is no one who cares about them. They are They are buried. They are buried in the graveyard as cattle, not one by one, uh, in 25 to 30, 40, 100. They are all together buried in the graveyard. Nobody care about them. Nobody cares that the bell is rang or not. Nobody cares. And in most of countries, the proper rituals are not given to the enemy soldiers. They are destroyed by the enemies, and then they are the body, the remaining part of the body, are thrown to the animals, and the animal eat to the remaining parts of the soldiers. So this is a very dangerous scene of the battlefield, which was expressed in the poem. Only the monstrous anger of the guns. There is only, we can find only one thing, and that is the anger of the guns. And only the shuttering rifles, rapid fires of the rifles, only the stuttering rifles, rapid rattles can patter out their hasty orisons. No mockeries for them, no prayers, no bells. There is nothing just like ceremony for them, because there is nothing. We cannot bell a bell, and we cannot make prayers for them on the battlefield. So there is nothing, and there is nothing ceremony for them or for their death. Nor any voice of mourning save the choirs and the shrill demented choirs of the wailing cells, and bugles calling for them from sad sires, and with what candles may be held to spread them all. Means there is no candle for them. Nobody lit a candle on the church for them, because we don't know how many people are dead in the battlefield. Not in the hands of boys, but in their eyes. There is nothing in the hands of boys, but in their eyes shall shine the holy gleamers of goodbyes. There is only eyes, there is the goodbyes only in the eyes. There is nothing in their hand. There is no rose, there is no candle in the hand of the boys. Shall shine the holy gleamers of the goodbyes, the pallor of girls' brow shall be their pale, their flower be tenderness and the patient mind, and each slow dusk drawing down the blinds. Means there is no one who cares about them, or who can care about them. The poet projects the ritual of a funeral, such as bells, prayers, candles, flowers, and drawn blinds, but points out that none of these are available for the soldier who died in the battle, because there is no one present at that time. The funeral rituals are sadly restricted to the sound of battle. The funeral rituals are sadly restricted to the sound of battle. Means the sound of battle is more stronger than the sound of funeral rituals, as the bell, as the prayers, as the candles and flowers and drawn blinds. There is nothing more powerful than the sound of battle. So poet presents a battlefield, destruction of a battlefield, and want to say that a person who died in a battlefield has nothing rituals, has nothing, there is nothing, nothing ceremony in their funeral rituals. There nobody bell a bell, there nobody pray the prayers, and nobody lit a candle, nobody gave a flower. There is no flower in a boy who saw them, and there is the drawn blinds, but points out that none of these are available for the soldier who died in the battle. So we can say that the ceremonies are not available, the funeral ceremonies are not available for the person who died in the battlefield. The person who died in the battlefield may be a patriotic person, and maybe it is certainty that they are patriotic person who died, who give their life for the country. They also can live a life in society, they also can live a peaceful life, but they are dedicated, they are firm in their thought to protect their country. So there should be a bell should be rang in their memory. There should be prayers, but we don't have the courage to go into the battlefield, and so there is no bells and no prayers are available at their funeral time. The technique in this poem. The poem has 14 lines in it as a sonnet. As we know that sonnet contains 14 lines in it. And in Shakespearean sonnet there are 4 parts of a poem, and in the Miltonic sonnet there are 2 parts of a poem. In Miltonic sonnet there are 2 parts of poem. First is octave and the second is sestet. Octave provides a problem and sestet provides a solution of it. This poem provides both of them. Rhyme scheme is A B A B, C D C D, E F F E, and G Z. So we can say that there is also a slightly change as we saw in the last poem. This is the Shakespearean rhyme scheme. Shakespearean rhyme scheme is A B A B, C D C D, E F E F G G. But there is a slightly change in the rhyme scheme. You can see E F F E. It is not E F E F. It is E F F E and G Z. G Z. It is a couplet. Couplet is a rhyming two lines which presents a solution or which presents an idea in two lines. As we know, couplet is called in Hindi dohas, and dohas of Kabir, Rahim, Guru Nanak are very popular in India. The language is very easy and lucid. We can identify the words. We can easily think about the words. Next, the first 8 lines or the octave describe the first 8 lines which are called octave. Describe the scene of battle and the sound of gunfire. There are 2 parts of this poem. So octave presents a scene of the battlefield. And the last 6 line or sestet describe the sorrow of those who lost their loved ones. The last 6 line or sestet. Sestet is called the stanza of 6 line, and octave which is called the stanza of 8 lines. Describe the sorrow of those who have lost their loved ones. The octave and the sestet word are very much popular in the names of the month. As we know, octave, October month. Sestet, there is no use of this in the calendar. Octave, November, 9th month, December, 10th month, September, 7th month, and October, 8th month, November and December. But when the scientists of olden days and the engineers of olden days add 2 months, July and August, the octave became the 10th month, and the November became the 11th month, and the December became the 12th month. Otherwise, they are September 7th, October 8th, November 9th, and December 10th month. This is the reality of these words. These words are taken from the Latin language. Now, we will move to the next poem, The West Wind, which is written by Masefield, which the complete name of Masefield is John Masefield, who was born in 1978 and was dead in 1967. This is a long period of his life, and he lived a very long life. He became poet laureate in 1930. Poet laureate means national poet of England. It is a reward for a poet who became the poet laureate in any country. John Masefield was born in June 1, 1878 and was died in May 12, 1967. And this picture, which was seen under the picture of Masefield, is the milestone or is the stone on the graveyard of the poet. John Masefield, O.M., 1878 to 1967, poet laureate of England in 1930. The poem. This poem has a touch of tilt and rhythm that make it very appealing. There is a very good rhythm in this poem. Many poets have written about the West Wind as P.B. Shelley. The West Wind of P.B. Shelley the title is Ode to the West Wind. And P.B. Shelley, who was a romantic poet, was a revolutionary poet. His ideas are very revolutionary, and in the Ode to the West Wind, he presents the ideas about the West Wind. He prays in the first 3 stanzas to the West Wind that, "O West Wind, you are so strong that you can destroy anything, you can make restless on the earth, you can make the restless to the cloud and the sky, you make restless to the sea also, Atlantic and Mediterranean." At last in the 2 stanza, he became autobiographical, and he said that, "Make me thy lyre, and I want to throw my thoughts all around the world, and you help me, because I am aged now, and I am not as strong as in my boyhood. So help me." These are the lines from the P.B. Shelley's West Wind, Ode to the West Wind. Now we are discussing about the West Wind, which is another poem. The poet describes that it was a sign of hope and warmth which quickens life after the emptiness of winter. In this poem, the poet John Masefield described about the West Wind only, and he prays only in these lines. There is no revolutionary idea in this poem. He wants to praise only the West Wind, which is famous for the hope and warmth. It is warm wind and the west wind full of birds' cry. This is a wind which is full of birds' cry. And I never hear the west wind, but tears are in my eyes. I never hear, he never hear about the west wind, he never hear the voice of the west wind, but there are tears in his eyes because he loved the west wind. For it comes from the west land and all brown hills, and April is the west wind and daffodils. April is the month when west wind came, and the daffodils are there all around in the lakeside. So the poet want to say that west wind brings the prosperity in the flowers. The west wind bring the prosperity in the grain, and it brings the rain also. And in next lines, he presents only the praise of the west wind. As we say, it is fine land and the west land, for hearts are tired as mine. Apple orchard blossom there, and the airs like wine. So we can see that this brings the prosperity in the land. When it comes, the apples orchard became full with the ripened apples and the flowers and many things which are prosperity in the field. And there is a cool green grass here, and where man may lie at rest, and the thrushes are in the song there, fluting from the nest. Well, will you not come home, brother? You have been long away. You should come to home, because the west wind has come. The west wind is at present. It is April, the blossom time, and white is the May. April is good for April is the subject as not good for the poet, because as Geoffrey Chaucer also wrote that April is the cruelest month. So we can say that April is the sweetest month. Geoffrey Chaucer said April is the sweetest month, but T.S. Eliot used this phrase as April is the cruelest month. And now we can say John Masefield also said that April is the sweetest month, as Geoffrey Chaucer said in the Canterbury Tales. And bright is the sun, brother, and warm in the rain. Will you not come home, brother, home to us again? Please come here, come to the home and enjoy to the April month. So we can say that the poet John Masefield described his good ideas about the west wind. The young corn is green, brother, where the rabbits ran, its blue sky and white clouds and warm rain and sun, its song to a man's soul, brother, fire to a man's brain, and hear the wild bees and see the merry spring again. These 4 lines express about the merry time of the April. Larks are singing in the west. Lark, it is present. The skylark is singing in the west, brother, above the green wheat. So will ye not come home? Yea, present you. Will you not come home, brother, and rest your tired feet? I have balm for burnished heart, and brother, sleep for aching eyes. Say the warm wind, the west wind, full of birds' cry, and the month is full of cries. It is white road westward, in the road I must trade. I want to trade the white road westward, because it is the April. And to green grass and the cool grass and the rest of the heart and head, to the violets and the warm hearts and the thrushes song, in the fine land, the west land, where I belong. It is the west land, east west. It is the west land which is full of the prosperity. The poem. The poet described the sight and the sound of the spring season, when all creatures revel in the warmth of the sun after being the hiding during the cold of winter months. The technique. Rhyme scheme. There is a good rhyme scheme in this poem, and it is A, A, B, B, C, C, D, D. This is called the simplest rhyme scheme for a poem. The language is very easy and lucid, and you see that all poems of your poet's pen are very easy. The poem has 4 stanzas. The poem has stanzas of 4 lines each, with rhyming couplets. There are 6 stanzas of 4 lines, and all are rhyming couplets. And the rhyme scheme is A, A, B, B, C, C, D, D, E, E, F, F, G, G, H, H, etc. and continuously. Thanks. It is enough for today. Tomorrow we are going through 2 poems. First is The Second Coming, which is related to biblical reference, and the second is The Journey of Magi, which is also the similarly belong to the biblical reference.